It bothered Rock. He would come back, well, what is the matter with these people?
Fans started to turn, booing every night. I was also told, I want you to smile big.
You want to go there? You want to go there? Okay.
I believe in doing things a certain way. He believes in doing things another way.
For wasting my time, mother. We had real problems with each other.
I just don't like the guy personally.
Didn't matter if he was egotistical or being a complete jerk, they were entertained by it.
You crackhead Karens!
The Rock stands today as one of the most prominent personalities in the history of wrestling and beyond. He radiates charisma. The WWE calls him electrifying. When he raises that eyebrow, arenas tremble. The Rock's popularity is unparalleled. It seems like everything he touches turns to gold, whether it's acting, entrepreneurship, or wrestling, as we're seeing once more in 2024. However, few know the hurdles Dwayne Johnson had to overcome in his life to reach the pinnacle of the entertainment industry. He hasn't always been the smiling face that everyone adores. Away from the spotlight, The Rock has made numerous enemies and hasn't always played by the rules.
Wrestling shows were the top 2 programs on cable last week, and it's due in part to The Rock.
When he picked up that mic, it was magic almost every time out.
I've always kept in close contact with Vince, and we've become incredibly close.
Few wrestlers achieve the level of success that The Rock has. After his immense success in wrestling, he made the leap into Hollywood and solidified his status as a megastar. The seemingly endless list of his achievements is widely known. A 10-time WWE champion turned highest paid actor globally. He's now so popular that he's been linked to a potential candidacy for the office of US President. The Rock himself claims there has even been a concrete offer for a candidacy. His family paved the way for Rock's successful career. He is part of a wrestling dynasty. Grandfather Peter and father Rocky Johnson were more often found in the wrestling ring than at home on the couch. Both of them, Dwayne Johnson hasn't had the easiest of relationships with.
I had a very complicated relationship with my dad. And it was really, there was a foundation of tough love with my father. And wasn't a big, I love you guy.
The family moved constantly, as was typical for a wrestler back then. In total, they lived in 14 different states. Dwayne spent some time with his mother in New Zealand, then he moved with his parents to Hawaii, where his father would continue his wrestling career.
Very, very early, I would tell him, your daddy looks like he's crying, but he's not. He's fine. He's all right.
Sports played a significant role for young Dwayne, as it did for the entire Johnson family, sometimes to an excessive extent.
My dad would always get up before the sun came up, and he would get me up on weekends when I was like 5 or 6 years old. And I hated it.
I worked with him. I had him sweating. I had him passing out. I had him sick to his stomach.
You're going to get up too. He would drag me to the gym. And by the way, I'm 5 years old, and he would drag me to the gym. Yes.
Early on, he had to undergo rigorous strength training with his father and participate in competitions. Rocky Johnson deemed it essential to instill in his son a hardened steel discipline, something he believed could only be achieved through hard work. The relationship with his father was strained. Despite his athletic achievements, he received little to no recognition from him. The search for acknowledgement and validation became the driving force behind Johnson's entire career. Nevertheless, these parenting methods laid the foundation for his later success.
And we would go down to the wrestling mats. He always said, look, no one's going to ever give you anything. And respect will be given when you earn it. And you got to earn it every single day.
The habit of rising before dawn is one he still maintains to this day. So The Rock still gets up at 4 o'clock every day. Father Rocky Johnson had an extremely challenging childhood himself. He couldn't provide his family with a much more comfortable life. Johnson seized every opportunity to step into the ring and earn money. But it wasn't enough. He was increasingly absent from home, which, alongside financial worries, strained his relationship with his wife and son greatly. Rocky Johnson did what many wrestlers do. He cheated on his wife. Among others, he had an affair with Luan Crable, which lasted for 25 years. Crable said in an interview with Star magazine, Dwayne had a tough childhood because he never saw his father. He wasn't home 12 out of 14 days. That crushed Dwayne. He was always so sad. As a teenager, he found out his father was cheating on his mother with me. He called me and told me to stay away from his father. Rock's parents divorced, and Dwayne moved with his mother to Hawaii, where life didn't get any easier. They had little money, lost their apartment, and couldn't even sleep in the car, which had been repossessed. At this time, he and his mother argued frequently and fiercely. Then there was an event that would shape the 15-year-old Dwayne for a long time. His mother attempted suicide. Dwayne was in the passenger seat when his mother suddenly stopped on a highway, got out, and walked into oncoming traffic. She only survived because her son pulled her back into the car. The problems at home manifested in aggressive behavior towards classmates. Dwayne was expelled from school a total of 4 times. He was always the new kid, always unpopular due to his behavior. He regularly got into fights, often requiring police intervention. He thought he could only earn the respect and acknowledgement of his peers this way. Poverty frustrated him. He didn't want to have to pinch pennies anymore, so he made a decision. Make money. More than enough. Whatever it takes. In his desperation, Dwayne saw only one way out: joining a gang in the Waikiki neighborhood of Hawaii. Together, they committed thefts, robbed expensive clothing, and raided jewelers. Since he was still a minor, he avoided prison time. After his 8th arrest, he realized that this couldn't continue. Moving to Pennsylvania in his final year of high school marked a turning point in Dwayne Johnson's life. He was discovered by the coach of the high school football team. His physique was outstanding. Johnson had always been significantly taller and more muscular than his classmates. As he later recounted in interviews, some schoolmates mistook him for an undercover cop because of his physique and the fact that he looked much older. After school, he began studying criminology at the University of Miami, also joining the football team there. His athletic performances even earned him a scholarship. While Johnson excelled more at football than he did in his studies, winning the college championship overshadowed this. Moreover, he finally began to receive the acknowledgement he had always desired but never received from his father. Like many athletes striving for a great career, Johnson felt the pressure to become stronger, faster, and thus better than the competition. He admitted to taking anabolic steroids at the age of 18. He believed it was the only way to have a successful football career. He was always dissatisfied with his body and saw the steroids as a means to improve supposed weaknesses. It took many years for The Rock to accept his body and feel comfortable in it. Accusations of steroid abuse continue to this day. In interviews, he tends to speak vaguely on the topic and instead emphasizes how hard he trains. But taking steroids didn't pay off. His team recruited future NFL star Warren Sapp for Johnson's position on the defense line.
First time me and him officially met was when I changed position from tight end to defensive line. And I was sitting in the gritters room, and he walked in and he looked at me and said, "What are you doing here?" And I looked at him, I said, "I'm here for your job."
The university no longer needed him on the football team, and his academic performance was below average. Only thanks to his coach advocating for him, he managed to complete his criminology degree. Leaving the football team, the respect he had earned vanished as quickly as it had come. After graduation, he tried to continue his football career in Canada, still aiming to escape poverty. However, various injuries to his knees, back, and Achilles tendon eventually led to an early end to his football career. Johnson had to undergo 5 surgeries. It was his father, Rocky Johnson, who brought him back from Canada. He pulled up in his pickup truck outside Dwayne's house. He got in, they left the Canadian border behind, and with it, Dwayne's shattered dreams. The goal of becoming the best NFL player and lifting his parents out of poverty, unattainable. With only $7 to his name, Johnson felt his whole world collapse.
That was hard. It was hard. That was a hard kick in the gut because I'd worked for years and years and years to make it to the NFL. I didn't. My friends around me were making it, and they were becoming millionaires and buying their parents' houses, all the dreams that we all had, and they were living the dreams that we had, and I was not. I was actually living a nightmare. I fell into depression at that time.
His shattered NFL dream, the breakup with his then-girlfriend, and memories of his mother's suicide attempt weighed him down, and he fell into depression. Dwayne spoke publicly about it for the first time in 2018, saying it was the worst phase of his life. He revealed that he had experienced depression 3 times in his life, most recently in 2017. He found it difficult to express himself. As a teenager, he would find release in violence, and later in college, in athletic performance. But now, the sadness just built up within him, dominating his life. Then in 1995, the second major turning point in his life. Dwayne wanted to step into the ring, become a wrestler, just like his father. When Dwayne told him about this, he wasn't very thrilled. They argued fiercely. The Rock says that this was the biggest conflict he ever had with his father.
He came home and he said, "Dad, I want to talk to you." So he goes, "I played football. Now I want to get in the wrestling business." And I really tried to discourage him because I didn't want him to go through what I went through.
Rocky Johnson didn't want his son to end up like him. While he was successful as a wrestler, he struggled with mental illness and could barely afford his apartment rent. He wanted a better life for his son. Dwayne argued he would just train with someone else. He even considered going to the Hart Dungeon, the legendary wrestling school where Bret and Owen Hart learned the craft. It was during this time that a deep friendship began to develop between him and Owen Hart. He was also friends with other members of the Hart family. Dwayne insisted on becoming a wrestler until his father finally gave in and started training him, initially just in a boxing ring. Here, The Rock begins his journey as a wrestler, his journey as the first third-generation superstar.
But I didn't want him to be a local yokel. I seen championship in him.
Pat Patterson, Vince McMahon's right-hand man at the time, scouted The Rock. He went to Vince and told him to take a closer look at Rocky Johnson's son.
He looked so great and big, a football player, and he looked the part. He looked like a star. I called Vince the very next day, and I said, "Vince, you got to get that kid." He was a natural right off the bat. He just loved to be. He was not nervous at all.
Pat Patterson played a central role in Dwayne's career. However, The Rock faced criticism for his relationship with his mentor. Pat Patterson had been accused of sexual abuse multiple times. He allegedly pursued young ring crew members. Dwayne was said to have been aware of Patterson's dark secrets and contributed to covering up Patterson's misconduct, at least according to his critics. At Survivor Series 1996, The Rock was allowed to debut prominently as Rocky Mavia.
He was this really great-looking athlete.
Yes, indeed, the rookie sensation Rocky Mavia.
clean cut.
Everyone certainly have their eyes on this extraordinary superstar.
You know, all-American classic.
Oh, what a blue chipper he is.
I think you'd have to be blind to see that he didn't have something.
However, the audience didn't embrace the concept. His ridiculous costumes and hairstyles provoked ridicule. His happy-go-lucky portrayal as a smiling babyface didn't fit with the emerging Attitude Era. His matches were always accompanied by "Rocky sucks" chants, and even turned into "Die Rocky Die" chants.
I was told, listen, when you go out there, you got to smile. And okay, well, I'm going to lose tonight. Yeah, but you're happy to be here. And that drove fans crazy because and they see through it.
So you have this thing happening over here, the rise of the Attitude Era, and then you have this kid who's just smiling away. Everything is good, even when he loses. And it never felt right to me here. Every night they were chanting "Rocky sucks."
The Rock was frustrated. He didn't get the respect he sought. He hated having to grin while boiling inside. Even McMahon and Patterson realized that something had gone terribly wrong. Dwayne's career was on the brink of collapse.
And you could tell he wanted to be loved. He wanted to be admired. It bothered Rock. He would come back, well, what is the matter with these people?
He really panicked with it a little bit. And I said, Rock, don't worry about it. At least they're chanting your name.
I think he was trying to play, the stereotypical 1970s white meat babyface, and it just, was not something that resonated with the fan.
He wasn't the character that he wanted to be, see? And he was sucking at it because that wasn't what he wanted to do. And when you're doing something that you don't feel comfortable doing, you're gonna suck at it.
Dwayne got injured and was sidelined for a long time. During his break, he was convinced he was done with wrestling. He even considered going to Japan and starting a career as an MMA fighter. Pride, a new MMA promoter, had just been founded there, attracting many fighters with high salaries.
And I have this idea in my head. Well, maybe I should train the MMA and go to Pride and make money, real money, and then I don't have to smile.
But then Johnson had a different idea. Rocky Mavia might not have a future in wrestling anymore, but The Rock was ready to become one of the biggest stars in the business.
You damn sure better introduce me as The Rock.
Johnson just wanted to be himself. After his comeback from injury, he wanted to establish his new character. He went to Vince McMahon before an episode of Raw and demanded 2 minutes on the microphone to tell the fans how he really felt.
In arenas across the country, I heard chants of "Rocky sucks." Well, Rocky Mavia is a lot of things, but sucks isn't one of them.
The Rock was born. As a heel, he quickly became one of the most beloved characters in wrestling, only referring to himself in the third person and regularly insulting both the audience and his opponents. However, he did so in such a charismatic and entertaining fashion that he gained immense popularity.
The Rock just had this ability to play a crowd like no other. And that hasn't gone away. I mean, we've seen it since he came back.
When he picked up that mic, it was magic almost every time out.
Me, can you dig it, sucker? Shh. Come on, Rock. Baddest gun in Dallas. You can all go shoot yourself.
He was able to identify with the people, and in turn, they were able to identify with him.
Well, shut up, jabroni, for The Rock slaps a taste out of your mouth.
The Rock's promo segments were the highlight of the show for many fans, but not necessarily for his opponents in the ring. The singles push of Billy Gunn, for instance, was abruptly halted after The Rock heavily disparaged him in a promo. The Rock was on his way to becoming the biggest star in wrestling. Entertaining rivalries with Triple H and Mick Foley also contributed to his rise. However, his position at the top was soon challenged by none other than Stone Cold Steve Austin. Their legendary rivalry is one of the best ever, but it didn't just happen in front of the camera. For Johnson, it was also a battle for attention and validation.
it was important to me that I was the one leading the pack. I didn't want to be second when I knew first was available. And Steve Austin sure as hell didn't want to be second.
Rock was everything that Austin wasn't. Steve is a very blue-collar, punch-the-clock workhorse. I think Rock was that first dose of superstar.
There's only one number one spot, and I'm going to take it. And he felt the exact same.
Both wanted to be the best. The Rock and Austin didn't hold back. While they remained professional, both knew that there could only be one number one. Johnson was determined not to lose again. It had already happened to him in football. He didn't want history to repeat itself. He wanted the spotlight for himself, to be recognized as the number one superstar. Both wrestlers brought their A game. In the end, the winner was the audience. Wrestling had never been more popular.
The Rock has taken the extremely popular world of professional wrestling by storm.
During this time, criticism rained down on The Rock. People called him arrogant, and over time this became his reputation, that he didn't give a damn about anyone outside of his tax bracket, only associating with important people backstage, disregarding everyone else. But all The Rock's success was overshadowed by what he calls the most tragic, difficult day of his life. At the pay-per-view event Over the Edge, his friend Owen Hart, who was supposed to descend from the rafters of the arena, fell 24 meters to his death.
The loudest crash out of the corner of my eye, like you see something just like a car that you would see going by real fast on the road. You've seen it, but you didn't see it. But I saw a flash and then the bang, and you could see him try to set up like a half a setup.
Wow.
And then he comes back down.
He can't get up. That's how badly he's injured. He can't get up.
Johnson was the first wrestler scheduled to make his entrance after Hart. He stood behind the curtain and had to watch as attempts to save his friend's life in the ring proved futile. He wanted to run out and help Owen, but he didn't because he feared the audience would think Hart's accident was part of the show. After the terrible accident, he had to perform as if nothing had happened. The Rock calls that night the toughest night of his life. In wrestling, The Rock achieved everything he had dreamed of, including financially. He bought his mother a house, helped his father pay off his debt, and fulfilled his childhood dream of owning a Rolex watch. But it was above all the proud admiration of his father that he had always wanted and now received.
I felt that he was proud of me when I became successful in an industry that he had given his life to.
An emotional moment for The Rock in his wrestling career took place in 2008 when he inducted his father and grandfather into the WWE Hall of Fame. But he wouldn't be The Rock if he didn't want more. The will and discipline instilled in him by his father drove him further. He had another dream. Since he saw Sylvester Stallone as Rocky Balboa, he wanted to become an actor. He wanted an even bigger stage, to be an even bigger star.
You know, Rock made a decision. He had goals in his life. He's a goal-oriented guy. He always wanted to be in this business, but he also wanted to be in the movies.
Hollywood was becoming his job, and the WWE was his part-time job.
Through various convincing performances in movies and TV shows, The Rock established himself as an action star in Hollywood. The WWE audience didn't like this at all. His loss at SummerSlam 2002 against Brock Lesnar was accompanied by "You Sold Out" chants.
Finally!
The Rock accepted this response and developed the character of Hollywood Rock. He embraced the reactions and adjusted his character accordingly until he became popular with the fans again, a motif that runs through The Rock's career. He always adapts his character to the fans' reactions. Even in the build-up to WrestleMania 40, the fans booed The Rock. In response, he turned into such an entertaining heel that the fans couldn't get enough of him. After some failures in the movie industry, Dwayne realized that he needed to make a change. Even though it was difficult for him, he had to dismiss his agents, who had been with him for a long time. He became less of an actor and more of a businessman. To this day, Danny Garcia, with whom he was married until 2008, remains his manager. Perhaps he was also influenced here by the example of his father. He was not always a good husband and cheated on his wife. His affair claimed that he also wanted to indulge in a peculiar fetish. Their divorce did not end their friendship, and they are still business partners. However, Johnson struggled with depression again after the separation. He could no longer spend as much time with his daughter, Simone, known as Ava in WWE. As an actor, he was able to celebrate successes again with his entry into the Fast and Furious franchise. His role was originally intended for someone else and was then rewritten specifically for him. Despite the success, there was a confrontation between Dwayne and lead actor Vin Diesel on set. The Rock repeatedly spoke disparagingly about the behavior of some of his fellow actors, not naming anyone in particular. However, it was obvious that he meant Vin Diesel. As a result, they provoked each other so much that they could no longer be on set together. Dwayne Johnson even made sure contractually that he would no longer share a set with Diesel.
You want to go there? You want to go there? Okay.
As much as I appreciate them opening their arms to this already established family, a real family, it was also important to me to earn the brotherhood with everyone.
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson rips his Fast 8 co-star, saying
Vin was always late, he was arrogant.
The Rock and Vin Diesel couldn't be on set at the same time. They hate each other so bad.
You allegedly called Vin Diesel a candy, an unprofessional, didn't film any scenes together. What was the most unprofessional behavior you witnessed from Vin?
You gotta plead the fifth on that. I believe in doing things a certain way. He believes in doing things another way.
People are siding with The Rock.
Even when he began his feud with John Cena, there were differences that went beyond the storyline.
As years went by, John would go out publicly and he would say disparaging things about me in this roundabout way. You know, well, if you care so much about the business, come back, flip your little eyebrow up, and then leave.
He just said deuces and left WWE and saying you love the gig and you love the business. Show a little bit more respect. He just left to go be a movie star. I've done some movies and I've managed to keep my WWE obligations, so I know it can be done. He just left us kind of hanging.
They aired their conflicts publicly on Twitter. It was the first time that the internet played a significant role in a rivalry where it wasn't entirely clear what parts were staged and which were real.
An issue in sports entertainment is fueled by the internet.
I had, for example, told John Cena that, okay, you ran your mouth. Well, here's how I'm going to respond. I'm going to see you at Raw, and I'm going to slap the feminine napkin right out of you.
We had real problems with each other.
I just don't like the guy personally.
Hustle, loyalty, respect, yeah, Thugonomics, yeah!
His presence was electrifying, but his message was far from positive.
I have an issue with him, and this is going to be great because now I can say things from a very real place. So it all made perfect sense, and it was this incredible perfect storm, and it all kind of came together.
In the ring, both remained professional at all times. Outside the ring, Johnson faced various lawsuits, some of which accused him of absurd things. On one hand, Johnson was accused of stealing scripts for the show Ballers, which he produced. He and co-producer Mark Wahlberg were sued for $200 million by the alleged authors of the scripts. The lawsuit was dismissed due to a lack of evidence, and the show became a success. He was also one of the main defendants in a huge $3 billion lawsuit. Wrestler 𝗓𝗓𝗣𝗥𝗚𝗚𝗧 accused Johnson of trying to abduct her children. She did not make a convincing case. The late Chris Benoit is also listed as a defendant. Such absurdities are inevitable when you live life as a superstar. The Rock has climbed the steep path to the peak of the entertainment industry. Without his ability to work incredibly hard, and without his vehement pursuit of validation, he would never have ended up there. Everyone has a dark side, everyone makes mistakes, but it's impressive what Dwayne Johnson has made of his life. It's no coincidence that his own production company is called $7 Production. The name is meant to remind him of the mere $7 he had in his pocket at the beginning of his journey.
I always knew that I was going to return to the WWE, just didn't know when.
I don't think he'll ever forget where he came from and how far he went, and that's what makes me proud.